once you get a $95 million contract offer, the expectations and needless to say, ramp up when they're saying you're the second highest paid coach. We talked about this before. I don't think it's if Michigan State thinks Mel Tucker's the guy and they want to keep him, they need to overpay to compensate for the other deficiencies in the program. Yep. And in Matt Ishbia, their 41-year-old multi-billionaire former basketball player, they have a guy who, quite honestly, I believe would like to buy the Detroit Lions, but can't because the Forde family won't sell it. So what's the next best thing if you can't get into the NFL at this age is effectively own a college football team. I'll be very interested to see what Matt Ishbia does with this program because he's got a lot of money. And I mean, what would you do when you're 41 with $5 billion? Like, it's like, hire a football coach or I won't. What? I mean, nothing matters. It's not a number. There's no number.
Michigan State is in position theoretically to have their Boone Pickens or their Phil Knight. You know?
Yeah, and except he's not like 80. He's not like 70 years old and like got my dying wish. He's like, I'm going to be around for the next like 40 years. Yeah. Let's go. So,
yeah. So, yeah, look, that's the thing. When you're Michigan State, you can't drive a hard bargain of, well, we'll pay you the market rate of somebody with your record. No, if you think that he's the guy, you do overpay to get him and keep him. And then that's the only way you keep away, whether it's LSU or anybody else. Hey, Florida now in the officially in the market, and does it work out? We'll see. Not a great first game after coming to that kind of deal, but
he hasn't signed it as far as we know. So
true, right.
He could still leave. I mean,
Yeah.
But yeah, they have a chance to lose. They could lose 4 of their last 5. We'll put it that way.
Sure.
Like they lost to Purdue, got crushed by Ohio State. We'll see what Penn State brings, and then there's going to be a bowl game.
Yep.
But here's the thing: indisputable. Mel Tucker, he's done a great job this year, right? To get them to this point, he's done an excellent job. So I don't think any of the criticism of what happened to Ohio State, that's just like talent gravity, right? Like Ohio State was actually. Now, do you want to be a little more ready to play? Sure. Should you have some answers on defense? Probably. But Mel Tucker has holistically done an excellent job because remember, he was handed rotten eggs for a roster, right? Like, I mean, that roster is bad. Mark D'Antonio had stopped recruiting. He had a bad staff. They had a bad recruiting department. They were sort of relying on point of attack and 3 stars developing to, whatever. And everything just kind of, they had the slightest margin for error. And once they veered off track, it was pretty bleak there. So I think even if they lose to Penn State this weekend, I think any Michigan State fan would have giddily signed up for a Michigan win, and then that would put them at what, 9-3?
9-3, yeah.
Absolutely. Like that's,
the over-under was 4.5 wins by Vegas.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. That was my point I was getting at there was that for them to even be 9-1 and ranked that high and in that game tells you Mel Tucker did a phenomenal job. There was no reason to believe going into the season that nobody was circling November 20th, Michigan State at Ohio State as a big game because everybody assumed that Michigan State would be 4-6 at that point instead of 9-1. So, that's where that's why they were paying the money to him because they vastly overachieved. And this is a guy who has shown he can turn a roster quickly because of what he did in the transfer portal and go get guys and make their team better.